Mark, one of the things that I love about us and about you in particular is that you're a great storyteller and that you have a lot of stories about all your past experiences. But I haven't heard one in a while, and I don't think we...
You want to hear a story?
I do want to hear a story.
Well, it's Throwback Thursday, so that kind of fits that Throwback Thursday, and I can tell you a story from a long time ago.
There you go.
But we got to make it a story that helps the viewers out there catch more fish. So I bet I could come up with one.
That is most of your stories, so...
Megan, I tell you what, give me 15 seconds, and I'll come up with a Throwback Thursday story to share with you and you. Stick around.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to MFO, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher.
I'm Megan Fuller.
And Megan wants to hear a story, so we're going to tell a story. But
Wait. Before we get any farther, are we not going to announce that we hit our 100th subscriber?
We did. Thank you guys so much. We're very proud of it. We got to 100. That's great. I think we've done this for about a month, and we're at 100. We're really happy, and we really appreciate you guys for doing that. And we said we were going to give 3 prizes. We're going to give a prize to the person who was the 100th subscriber, and we know who that is. Congratulations. We'll announce who they are next week. We also picked somebody who was one of our first 90 subscribers, so we got that person. We'll announce that. But we've got one more prize, and we don't know who that's going to be. Somebody else is going to get one in the next 10 or so subscribers. So we're waiting to get to 110 or so before we pick that one out. Hopefully that'll be you. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that we can get you in this contest. And quite honestly, you should be subscribing already if you haven't done that already. So thanks so much about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Yep.
Let's get to this story
Let's
that we were
do it.
telling. Okay. So I got a story that goes back in the day when I was fishing. They called it the Stren Series. Used to be the Red Man. Then they called it the Stren Series. So this was before I was fishing the FLW Pro Tour or anything else. This was still the minor leagues, okay? And so it was about 15, 16 years ago. And we were out on Lake Guntersville. It was one of the last tournaments of the season in August. August on Lake Guntersville can be super hot, and this one was. I was getting up in the morning at 5 or 6 in the morning whenever it was still before sunrise, and it was already 95 degrees when I was walking out of the hotel.
Yikes.
You know it's going to be a hot day when it's 95 degrees at 6 in the morning, and you know you got to be out on the water the entire day. It was miserable.
Okay.
However, so we went out and, spent a week practicing and things like that, and I got onto a good frog bite that you can get on Guntersville. People know that that's something that you can do. So first day of the tournament, or I'm going out, and you remember this is also back when we had co-anglers. So as part of the Stren Series, we had co-anglers. So we pull up to this stretch of lily pads, and it's a particular stretch of lily pads where you can get on the inside of it, and you can bomb a cast all the way across the width of the lily pads to the point where your bait would actually end up on the far side of the lily pads in the clean water, and then you'd be able to work that bait all the way through the lily pads and then working the inside edge of it. And it was a perfect setup. We just would nice and easy cruise down the edge of the lily pads, bomb those casts, and make those casts. Well, it didn't take long before those fish started hitting, and they were good quality fish. I was getting 3s, 4s, even 5-pounder. I had a limit in a very short period of time that was pushing 17 pounds.
Nice.
So feeling pretty good about the day.
Yeah.
The co-angler that I had, didn't take him long, to see what I was doing with a frog, and he ends up picking up a frog and starts throwing it. But I'm catching fish and getting blow-ups and he's not getting a sniff on the frog that he's throwing. Pretty soon he kind of looks up front and he sees, well, Mark's throwing a white frog. Maybe that's the problem because he was throwing a different color.
Okay.
And so I see him in the back, you know, and having co-anglers, that's always you see them kind of straining their neck up front looking at what's going on, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, they're back in the tackle box pulling out different lures or cutting lures off their line. You know and sure enough, the next thing he's out there throwing is a white frog, because that's what I was throwing.
Okay.
And we keep going. Now, again, this is the part about me I don't know for sure, because it was right around the time I caught my 5th fish that I felt like I should ask him, hey, you know, you're throwing a frog, and I noticed you're throwing a white frog, but do you have any rattles in that frog? And he looks at me and goes, rattles in a frog? No, it's just a hollow-bellied frog. And I stopped casting for a minute, and I shook my frog.
Definitely sounds like a rattle.
And he said, oh my God, you put rattles in your frog? I'm like, yeah. And so gave him a few of them. He put rattles in that frog, and I'm not kidding, within a cast or two, he started catching fish, to the point where he proceeded to put a limit of fish in the boat for himself. We both ended up, I think he had around 15 pounds, I had around 17 pounds coming in for the day, and he was just shocked that was the reason why. And I'm telling you guys, from my standpoint, that was a moment that I knew that was something that you need to do. If you are not putting rattles in your hollow-bellied frogs, it's something that I really think that you should do. And there's a couple of ways that I do it. I want to kind of show these just so that people understand. I've got 3 different ways to do that. I will put literally just some beads. These are the same beads that you would use throwing a Carolina rig, and just putting that bead up in front of the weight. I'd also use split shot. I'd also use BBs. I don't have any here. That section is empty, but I'll just take BBs that you would use in a BB gun,
okay,
and put those in. I also use rattles, glass rattles, and you know, that you would put in a worm or something like that. So I've got a combination of split shot, metal BBs, plastic beads, and rattles that I just insert into the opening in the back of the frog. You slide the frog down, get to the point where that skirt comes out or whatever it is that comes out, and just slide the BBs or the rattles in there.
So that opening is already there.
That opening is there, right, and it seals up over it, so you don't have to. You got to be careful not to start to split that opening, because
right,
once you do that, you've wrecked the frog, because water will get inside there, and then it'll sink. But there's 2 things about the rattles. It gives it that little bit of noise on the surface. It also, by using split shot as one of my weights, it actually puts some weight onto the frog itself. So the frog, one of the problems with a frog, this is a scum frog, and I like scum frogs a lot, but one of the problems with a scum frog out of the package is it's very light, and it's hollow, and it's just air in there. A lot of times that scum frog coming across the surface of the water, when a fish comes up to get it, it literally lifts that, just because it's so light, it lifts that bait right up off the water, and they don't get a good grab of that.
Okay.
By having some weights in there, I'm using the weights for 2 reasons. One, to make noise, but also to weight it down just a little bit. It doesn't sink. I don't have enough weight to sink the bait, but it sits a little lower in the water and makes it easier for that fish, when it comes up to attack it, it actually grabs the bait and gets it. So I think there's 2 reasons. One is there's better hookups when you've got a little bit of weight in there, but the rattles and so maybe I'll start with maybe 2 split shot, 2 BBs, and a rattle of some kind, like this rattle here, and just put that in there. And I might find that, oh, maybe that's a little bit too much weight or a little bit too much noise, and I might take something out. But I'll always start with something in there. I very rarely am I finding that rattles don't get me bites.
Okay.
So
there's
I mean,
things to gain and not really anything to
yeah,
lose.
yeah, that's what I've found. And guys, you can go two ways at this. Throw a frog, do it without rattles. If you're not getting bit, put some rattles in, see how it goes. Or go the opposite way, and that's what I do. I will frog fish. My experience has shown me rattles pay off more than they don't. So I will start with rattles. If I'm not getting bit with rattles, before I put the frog down completely, I'll throw one without rattles just to make sure that I wasn't spooking them or something like that. Maybe the water was just too shallow and that those rattles were spooking the fish more than attracting them. But I haven't found that to be the case most of the time. So Throwback Thursday today is put some rattles in your frog, guys. I know we're getting to fall. I know frog fishing isn't going to be, hot and heavy right now. But this is something guys can do during the winter, is they can start getting those rattles and modify your frogs a little bit, guys, so you're ready to go when we get to summertime next year and you get to throwing those frogs. One last thing I want to say, because I absolutely don't want to get done with this video and not say this. The other thing that's so important is you gotta throw your frogs on braided line. I'm sure everybody out there is doing that, but in the off chance that somebody's still throwing their frog on mono or something like that, don't do that, guys. Get your braided line. Make sure that you got that strong braided line when you're whipping those frogs out there. Have yourself a blast. Make sure you put a little rattle in that frog next time you go frog fishing. Guys, we hope you like this tip and the story, and we hope to see you again tomorrow on Mark Fisher Outdoors. Night, everybody.
Bye.